Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and welcome if you are new to the channel. Today's video is going to be a Sunday evening routine, and this is not always the same routine. I think I mentioned this a bit later on in the video. Each week, each day this changes, but especially before I am going back to work the next day, starting fresh on Monday, I try on a Sunday to have a similar evening routine and have that routine in place so that I am being productive and feeling well rested before I start the working week. So we are starting this off with a lovely lasagna that I got the recipe from the SGS app, which is Holly Brux's app. So I've mentioned in previous videos I am currently doing one of the programs, and we are also taking the chance to get some inspiration from the recipes. We try where possible to do new recipes every so often, try new things, because we quite often get into a routine and a pattern of having the same meals over and over and over again. And I will just say that this lasagna was absolutely amazing, especially to say it's lower calorie. It was so good and still felt like you were having such a lovely little treat. So yes, I would highly recommend, if you have the app and you've not tried it yet, yeah, really good, and made enough for lunch, so it was just absolute perfection, I suppose. So then, after this lovely dinner, before we washed up, I knew I was about to make a bit of a mess again, because it was time to do my prep for my breakfast the next day. So I will always, well, I say always, I will try to always make breakfast the night before, especially when I am in the office the next day. I can never eat too early in the morning, so when I'm leaving the house, so before 7:30 basically, I can't eat a full meal. I just cannot stomach it. So I'm always taking breakfast to the office, occasionally buying it out, but to save money and also to try and keep things so much healthier, I try where possible to make this the night before. So I will also make James's as well, which you will see that I am making two, also in different containers, and that's because James works remotely, so he can have one of the nice fancy glass containers, whereas mine is in a more practical plastic Tupperware, because I've got to take that into the office with me and on my commute. But yes, so this evening I was making an overnight Weetabix, which if you've not tried before, please do. It is so good. It feels like you're having a little dessert for breakfast, and it's amazing. And it's so simple to make. I feel like sometimes I pick it up in my head that it's going to take longer, it's going to cause too much mess, but realistically it takes, 10 minutes tops and hardly uses anything. So such a super simple thing to make. You essentially just crush up all your Weetabix into the tub, mix it with a bit of milk to a consistency you think you would like. We usually go a little bit more milky on the evening, because you know overnight it's going to soak all that milk up, and just be the perfect consistency for us. And then you essentially just mix it all up with some yogurt, honey and protein powder. Mix up that into your yogurt, you layer that on top so it's looking like a bit of a cheesecake, and then we choose to do a little Biscoff drizzle over the top. You could do anything for this, obviously peanut butter or something like that would be a bit of a healthier option, especially if it was like a natural one. However, James is allergic to nuts, so we are a completely nuts-free household, so we find Biscoff to be the best option for us for this, just to add a little bit more flavour to it. And then I will have some blueberries and strawberries, or on this occasion that's what I had. It depends what we've had in, what the grocers had when we went. And I will take that in my little layer that's a bit separate, and I'll add that in the morning just before I eat it in the office. Hey guys, so we are back in the normal little filming spot that I'm sure you're probably all really bored of by now. Yes, I have just finished making up some breakfast for the morning, which you'll have just seen. I've done some overnight Weetabix. We do overnight oats, we kind of interchange between the two. An overnight Weetabix, which we absolutely love, and it's so easy to make. Yes, I've just made that, and then in the morning before work I'll just drizzle some Biscoff sauce over the top, just for a little bit of extra, but we just prefer doing that in the morning after it's had overnight to kind of like set a bit. Otherwise in the past it kind of like all seeps into the oats or the yogurt, whatever it is, if you do it at the same time and leave it overnight. That's what we have found anyway. So yes, just have made that up, and also just finished eating before that, which as well you'll have seen. We had a lasagna. That wasn't the plan tonight. I was meant to be making that last night, and then we were out, didn't get back in time, so I was literally just making that today to use things up so it didn't go in the bin, and we were going to freeze it all, but then it was just smelling really good, so I was like, let's just have this tonight. So we've kind of shuffled all our food around, had that tonight, and there's enough for lunch tomorrow, which is brilliant, so we don't need to think about any of that. Breakfast to lunch all done for tomorrow. So yes, I have now just popped upstairs and I'm going to do some of my planner, so I thought I would just have a little sit down and chat to you guys before that, and then set you up and just kind of film me doing my planner stuff. I'm trying to get into some better habits of doing that more regularly. I've been really horrifically bad, which I think I might have mentioned in the past, at keeping on top of that the last few months, so I really wanted to get back into that routine, keep on top of my habits, planning my days out, things like that, because I just think it just leads to a more productive life, which is what I'm after, and also like less stress, because at the moment I don't plan these things out, and then I don't know, I might have like tons of chores and I end up more stressed than if I just planned things and did it gradually throughout the week. So yeah, gonna get that sorted, gonna try and get back into those habits. Yeah, so I'll probably just pop you on a little montage now while we do that, and then I'll probably check in with you a little bit later. I don't think what else I've got to do tonight really. We need to wash up still, so I'll probably film that. And yeah, then just getting ready for bed and probably chilling really. Running a little bit late, probably about half an hour behind where I normally like to be on an evening. So see what time I get to bed. But yes, sorry, I'm rambling again now. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys again in a bit. So after making up the breakfast for the next day, I headed upstairs, and you will have just heard me talking through what I was about to do next. So I am going through my planners for the week. So I'm really trying hard to get back into a habit of doing this every single day, because when I used to, I honestly was so much more productive, and it just, I don't want to say changed my life, it's a bit of an exaggeration. However, it really did impact just my mood, the way I thought about things. I was more on top of things, and just life just felt so much smoother. Yes, it was still busy, but I had it all planned out. So this is really a top priority for me now, to try and make sure I'm doing this as consistently as possible. So I usually start with my little Filofax, which you can get different inserts for this. So at the moment I am just going through a bit of a habit tracker, just ticking that off, what I've done that day, and then especially at the end of the week on a Sunday, I do a bit of a count up of the numbers I've hit during the week. So for example, have I hit that habit every single day, or only 4 days, for example? And then I will store all of those week by week back into the back of my planner, so that at the end of the year I can look back and see how I have been tracking my progress. If there have been any periods where I dropped off, any periods where I was doing it consistently, things like that. And then following that, I will move into my other planner. Now this one actually was meant to be a work planner, however I found it really good for planning out workouts and meals, things like that. So this one has a split of like each day of the week with a bit of a bigger box than the Filofax. So at the start of the week, I'll write out what I am planning to do in terms of workouts, and then each evening I will track whether I have hit that workout, so I will highlight it if I have. If I haven't, I'll cross it out. And then after I've counted up my habits for that day in my Filofax, I'll transfer that across and write down how many of those I hit. So for example, 7 out of 10. So I genuinely work on the basis at the moment, if I hit 5 or more habits, I'll highlight that as a successful day. Whereas if it was less than that, I would cross it off as a not a successful day. At some point down the line, I might change that to a bigger number, so for example 7 out of 10. However, because I'm only just starting off, getting back into these habits, I don't want to be too harsh on myself at at the start, because I just know, for me personally, that is when I'll fail, because I will feel too overwhelmed and too stressed by it, and then I'll feel too bad that I'm not hitting things, and it's just a bit of a vicious circle. So I'm trying to currently take it just a bit easy on myself while I get back into these consistent habits. And then the other thing I do in this planner each evening is I write out everything I've eaten that day. So I split this into breakfast, lunch, tea and snacks, and I'll write out everything that I've been eating. So at the moment I am also tracking my food with MyFitnessPal. However, I want to keep this particular habit up of writing in my planner so that once I am kind of in a more regular routine and knowing what I'm eating each day, I can stop actively tracking it in an app, and I can just use this to kind of manage what I've been eating, and again look back and reflect on that week. Have I been eating healthier foods? And I don't mean not having treats ever, but just have my meals been full of goodness and nutrients? Have I on a whole hit my targets, I suppose? So I just find this a really nice way to track my food, but without necessarily the stress of constantly weighing it out and all of that. So it's a little tip if MyFitnessPal or something like that isn't for you. It's just another way of keeping on top of things, keeping track of what you're eating, but not so strictly. And then after finishing off my planner, I came downstairs and me and James were cleaning up the kitchen, doing the washing up, the drying, and just tidying up all of that mess from the tea and making the breakfast up. So this is going to be a running theme throughout this, that recently, we haven't always been sticking to washing up. We've got into some bad habits of going, we'll leave it till tomorrow, and then we end up with 2 or 3 days worth of washing up. And as you can see from this clip, we don't have the biggest amount of counter space, because it's a slightly small kitchen, and then we've got our air fryer and bits and pieces like that take up some space. So it's really, really important, we've said, that we are going to keep each other accountable. We have to wash up every single evening now going forwards. And the only asterisk on that for an exception is, for example, if we've been out. So if we're out, we're not going to stress. If we physically don't have time to make our plans work or anything like that, we're not going to stress about it. But that is very rare. We don't go out all that often, and we just are going to plan better. So that if we know we are going to be out, we can plan a quicker meal so that we have time to wash up before we go. I think really that little rule, that exception, is around kind of spontaneous plans. So for example, on Saturday we headed out to the cricket for a couple of drinks with some friends, and we were planning to come back for 7, but as kind of always happens, I'm sure people can relate, we got convinced into staying for another drink, which meant we didn't go home until a bit later. So things like that is where we are not going to be too hard on ourselves if we haven't done it. But on the whole, this is now going to be a nightly routine where we take it in turns to wash and dry, and most nights we'll also have a little hoover around just to get up all the crumbs that have fallen on the floor during this process. And just make sure we're doing the sides down and keep on top of cleaning the hob. So after finishing up cleaning the kitchen and making sure everything is nice and fresh down there for the next day, I headed upstairs to go and get ready for bed. So this pair of pyjamas will have featured in a couple of my videos now, I think, but I absolutely promise you they are always clean. They are just my absolute favourite pair for this time of the year, so they do get a lot of wear. But yes, then I headed through to the bathroom to go and do my skincare. So as I've mentioned in the past, I am a Tropic Skincare ambassador, and I've been using their products for years now. I am just, I wouldn't ever use anything else. They have something for everyone, and here you will see me using their smoothing cleanser followed by their super green serum. 2 of my absolute favourite products that are always a staple in my cupboard. I'd highly recommend, and I will leave my link down below in the description so that if you are interested, please feel free to go and have a little look around. I would just highly recommend it to anyone. So I'll come up, do my skincare, make sure I do that every night, melt off my makeup, scrub away at my face, and just make sure it's all nice and clean and moisturised, and yeah, ready to go to be nice and refreshed by the morning. Hi guys, so I have just been getting ready for bed, which you'll also have just seen in one of the clips that I've taken. I'll just get this last little chatty clip really before I sign off. Obviously I am doing a little talk over all the montages, so you will hear from me again, but this is just the final little chat one-on-one with you. So yes, I hope you are enjoying the video. This is my kind of Sunday evening routine. It's not always the same at all. Each weekend is different, each day generally is different, but I have kind of a rough set like structure I try to keep as part of my evening routine, especially before work. So obviously getting back to work tomorrow, and I am in the office, so again I'll be up bright and early to get ready and get there on time. And I'm sure you'll have heard this before, it's quite well known, quite well talked about, that a good morning routine starts with the evening. So it's kind of corny as that sounds, it is so valid, because your sleep is so important, and to get enough sleep before you are waking up early and making sure your body is rested so you're ready to go. So generally I wake up at around 6 AM for work when I'm, well, kind of either day, whether I'm in the office or not. So I try, emphasis on try and get to sleep by 10 o'clock so I can get my 8 hours. However, it does not always happen. At the very latest, I'll go to bed at 11 unless something has happened, or I don't know, something has significantly delayed me. So yeah, so tonight, right now it's 9 o'clock, just gone 9. And I'll be heading downstairs in a bit, just go chill for a little bit with James. And I'll come up and I always will read before bed, even if I'm exhausted. So last night I was so tired, but I still read. I think I ended up reading about 4 pages before I fell asleep. But it's just something I always do as part of my wind down before I go to sleep. So yes, I'm not too sure if there's much else really to fill you in on. I'll get some clips again of the rest of the night, like I've said. It'll be quite a short sweet video for you all. But I hope you enjoy it. Yes, please do let me know if you've got any feedback again, and thank you anyone who has taken the time to watch. I really do appreciate it. Then after getting ready for bed, I popped downstairs, and this is to go and watch a bit of TV with James before heading to sleep. So dependent on time, we will usually either watch just a quick 30-minute show or something a little bit longer. But regardless, I will always make my nighttime tea. So currently I use this TikTok brand. I would also highly recommend the Pukka nighttime tea. However, it is just a bit more expensive. So when that's not on offer, I will get this TikTok one. I still absolutely love it. And it just helps me so much, just relax, calm down, ready for a night's rest. So that is a bit of a non-negotiable for me on any of my evening routines. Have a nice big hot mug of that while we are watching some TV. Alongside that, you will see I have got out some dark chocolate. This is the Lindt Mint dark chocolate. Again, this is one of my staples, one of my non-negotiables on an evening. Either that or something else, but I always have to finish my day on a little sweet treat. And this does the job just perfectly. It feels indulgent and rich, and yeah, I love it, but you only need a couple of squares. At least that's how I feel, because it is so rich, and yeah, it's just the perfect way to finish off my eating for the day. So I will take these through to the lounge to then go and watch some TV. Please excuse some of the mess you can see in this clip. The pile of clothes at the bottom are our coats. So since we moved in, we haven't had a chance to put up our coat rack that we need to drill into the wall. So currently our coats all live in a pile on top of a beanbag, and that is what you can see in this clip here. But yes, I went down to sit with James on the sofa and pop a bit of TV on while I enjoy my tea and my chocolate. So this evening we were watching the second and final episode of Alex Cooper's series on Disney+. We've been waiting to watch this for a while, just getting around to it, so we're a little bit behind, but I can, say it was really, really good. We both listened to a podcast. James has for longer than me. He's actually the one who introduced me to her, but she just seems like such a genuine human, and the documentary only added to that. So anyone who's a fan, to be honest, even if you're not, I would highly recommend giving it a watch. It was really, really interesting, and we were saying it probably could have done with a couple more parts because we were that interested to delve a bit deeper into it all. But yeah, really, really good show if you are looking for something to watch. It's just 2 episodes, and yeah, we really enjoyed it. And we will usually, like I say, do this every evening, just have a bit of time watching some TV, and then I will head upstairs to go and read before bed. So this is yet again another absolute non-negotiable for me, is reading before I go to sleep. So even if I'm absolutely exhausted, I will get my book out and do a little bit of reading. And this just, again, helps me calm down, relax before I go to sleep. So even if that's 2 pages before my eyes closed, I will still do it. And it's just, for me it's the perfect way to end the day, to just dive into a book and be in that world for a little bit, take my mind off of my life and be within this plot. And for me that is just the perfect way to end off the evening. So, as I said at the start, this is not always how my evening routine looks. This was an especially productive one. I can assure you not every night looks like this. It very much is mood dependent, energy dependent. However, on the whole, all of these things you will have just seen, I really, really try my best to implement them into my life every single evening, because realistically, your evening is what sets up the next day. So if you have a really good evening routine, the next morning you're going to wake up feeling revitalised and ready to get the day. So for me, these are things that work. You might have other things that work for you. No one's routine is ever going to look the same. So you just need to find what works for you, and just start to implement those things, whether that's all at once, if that's the kind of person you are, or in stages. So for example, for me it's reading before bed. For James, he has recently started listening to an audiobook before bed. He's been going to sleep recently in the last few months at 2-3 a.m, and we got to a point it was right, you need to try and change that. He's got a new job starting and he needs to get back into a 9-to-5 life. So he is still coming to bed later, so maybe midnight, but that is better than the 3, and the audiobook is what he has found is helping him. So it really is just looking at yourself and knowing what works for you and implementing those things into your life. But yes, thank you very, very, very much for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed this one, this nice little cozy summer Sunday evening routine, and I will see you all next time.